Thank you all very much for taking your seats. And can I welcome back those who were at the General Assembly, and can I say a warm welcome to those who are joining for the first time, and express our gratitude to the Budapest University of Technology and Economics for having us. This session was intended to be an introduction for new members to the EUA, and that's not what this session is going to be. I guess few of us would have imagined that we would have a special session at EUA on war in Europe in 2022, but that is where we are. So I thank you for joining us, and begin by just reminding you that the EUA has been very active since February on this subject. You will have seen various messages of solidarity on behalf of the members to our colleagues in Ukraine, the suspension of most of our Russian members for endorsing a war. We've been involved in monitoring what is going on, helping share information to support Ukrainian universities and students and staff, and lobbying at a European level for resources and policy support across a wide spectrum of areas, and I won't go into the detail on this matter now. The purpose here is to hear first-hand accounts of the reality of education and research in Ukraine now from two leaders of Ukrainian universities, and then an account of what has been happening, particularly in the states closest to Ukraine, examples of support and solidarity. But the ultimate aim is that we have a conversation about what more we can do, and also the sharing of recommendations and good practices and successes from across Europe that might be employed by others in the coming weeks and months. So I welcome you to this event. It's short. We have to finish by roughly 12 o'clock. And so we'll get down to business. And there is firstly a joint presentation by Ksenia Smirnova, who is Vice Rector for International Cooperation at Taras Shevchenko National University of Kyiv. And the presentation will be shared with Professor Olga Parkuyan, who is the Rector of Vladimir Dal East Ukrainian National University. So I might first of all thank you for traveling under the circumstances and invite you to share your lived experience. So that's the beginning of the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear friends, dear colleagues. Unfortunately, in such circumstances, we met each other after the pandemic period, but unfortunately we had more serious obstacles on that. But finally, we are together. First of all, I really want to share all our gratitude to each of you, to the association, for all your support that we really feel. We really feel since the first day of war as a second phase of full aggressive war in Ukraine. I will try to speak not so emotionally, but I will try to speak more systematic on that issues. And the main aim, I want to share with you with the current state. What are the universities now within the second month of the war, and what are our options and how they were developed, how they were changed. Really, we faced unpredictable, unjustified, and blatant invasion, full invasion on the 24th of February. As a wide-scale war after the Second World War, we couldn't imagine that could be passed. One of the bitter consequences of this war is a forced termination of the educational process in Ukrainian universities, in all Ukrainian universities, its schools, pre-higher educational institutions, and simultaneously massive exodus of Ukrainian scholars and students abroad or to other regions of Ukraine. For the second month in a row, the full-scale invasion of the Russian invading forces on our land continues. The heroic resistance of the Ukrainian people to the Russian invasion, which destroyed our ambitious plans and our future, our peaceful life, but the life continues. The aggressor cynically claims that he strikes only the military facilities in our country. But here in that presentation, you will see facts that today, mostly more than 900 educational institutions were damaged. Among them, 84 were completely destroyed. This is the official statistic, and our Ministry of Education and Science gathered all that information and facts, and we are describing it in the map, within the interactive map that in Ukraine we have. I will say it. Among about 280 higher educational institutions in Ukraine before the war, large share, at least half of them, either irrevocably lost their facilities, their infrastructure, or mostly of their teaching staff and students' body have fled, thereby causing irrevocable damage and, of course, brain drain. We are seeking for avoiding brain drain, and we are seeking to be closer to each other, to be full partners, and to rebuild science and education together, with all your partners together. I mentioned the official interactive map that was elaborated by our Ministry of Education that is being constantly updated about the facts of destroying. Honestly saying, the situation in Ukraine is different depending on the regions. In the eastern part of Ukraine, mostly universities were destroyed. These photos that you can see, these photos from Kharkiv, from the National Karazin University, and other universities, that the infrastructure were destroyed. And the situation in the eastern part is mostly the most scareful. The universities that are situated in the central part of Ukraine, they are not so damaged, but they face, and specifically my university that I'm presenting here, Taras Shevchenko National University in the capital, as a visiting card of Ukraine and Kiev, we haven't faced a lot of losses there, a little bit, but we felt brain drain, we felt exodus. In the western part of Ukraine, the situation is different. These universities are mostly continue their work, and they're trying to make it in hybrid manner, online and offline, and they host students from other universities because of the massive displacement of students and professors from the central and eastern part to western part. So the situation in each university could be different. What we are doing after the termination of educational process for 3 weeks within the organizing of all that stuffs, educational process is ongoing, is relaunched, and our semesters are relaunched. Of course, educational process is providing in distance or blended format, and you can see that in the majority of regions, there are 24 regions of Ukraine where educational process was restarted. And now we are continuing our semester with the finishing of that educational year. We are preparing for the new enrollment campaign in summer, and we feel optimistic and we feel strong to start educational process next year, since September. Of course, what we're trying to do now? Of course, we are grateful for all the international support. We are coordinating of our students, PhD researchers, scientists, professors that left abroad, and they are temporarily displacement persons under the support. Of course, in the very beginning, we suspended classes, but nevertheless, all the students, professors, that trying to be in contact. Of course, in the eastern part of Ukraine, it's rather dangerous, and you might see some photos from mass media that some professors are from shelters, and they continue to work with their students in the shelters and within the alarm. What are the restoration measures that are taken already by our universities? Of course, the first month of the war witnessed that digitalization is crucial. And of course, these lessons learned from pandemia was luckily supported us and continue the semester. We are providing studies, communication with all the staff members, preserving archives and all the cultural and historical heritage. So we are keeping universities alive at all. We are providing, and also we're grateful for Erasmus programs, for mobility, exchange programs, because within the additional funding, we now coordinating our students in different universities all over the world. We are in negotiations with our partners to launch blended education for medicine students, when they can mix offline studies and training and experimental basis in our partners' premises and online teaching in our universities. Of course, we are seeking to, see what in the perspective, what are these development measures that could be taken. Within the secure capacity building, to secure institutional capacity, now we are launching twinning programs. We are seeking for creating new, joining existing universities, alliances, so to fill as a full partner with Europe. And, of course, with the simultaneous connections with their home universities. Here, you can see on that 2 slides the list of some short-term options that were elaborated since the very beginning, and how these short-term options could be split into the more longer period. Of course, for the short-term options, we are seeking to our partners, to you, to each of you, to provide access for educational programs to all our students, and we passed it already, and I'm grateful for that. Opening access to databases, libraries, repositories, online resources, to give our students more in case when our professors are in shelters, for example. We launched the network of our ambassadors, our students and professors that are abroad, that are ambassadors. And they can say to you in your home, in your universities, what is it, Ukraine? What are their home universities, and so on. Of course, we are thinking about that professors who are stayed in Ukraine. There's the majority of them. In some longer period, we are seeking for their support, for some grants, professorship, for those professors who are stayed in Ukraine within their universities. But this is the short term. While what we can see in the middle and longer term perspective. Of course, we are seeking, and we can forecast some more closer collaboration with partners. It could be more easier within the level of PhD researchers. We had already experience with cocktails, and specifically joint PhD programs now could be one of the way out. Of course, on other degrees, bachelor and master degrees, some kind of new forms of closer collaboration within the joint programs to give the possibility students to combine links with their professors in Ukraine and jointly with the host universities. That could be in the form of common programs, double diploma programs, or maybe some other new kind of stronger collaboration. Of course, we're seeking for the assistance of that programs that could be assessed by European institutions after the war. And finally, now we have an initiative, maybe you have heard because this initiative now is in the air, the initiative of the creating of Open Ukrainian University as a joint multi-institutional platform, digitalized platform between Ukrainian universities to combine all our facilities together with partners where other students can be connected within the informal education, within the asynchronical and synchronical forms of education, within the internal mobility within the Ukrainian territory, and mobility programs abroad that could be united jointly in that platform, Open Ukrainian University. We requested officially European Commission on that project. Now it is in the way of negotiations. It could be one of the way out, one of the strategic solution how it could be done. For the very short thesis, I think it would be enough from my side. I have the honor to have a speech to my colleague rector of university that faced challenges twice. First in 2014 within the replacement from Lugansk to Severodonetsk, and now the process of displacement the second time from Severodonetsk to other cities. The floor is yours, Olga.
I wish everyone good day from myself and on behalf of the Union of Rectors of Higher Education Institutions of Ukraine. My colleague spoke about the impact of the war on Ukrainian universities, and some universities are currently in even more difficult position as active hostilities have led to the need to leave their premises. These universities were forced to evacuate their staff and students and face the need to resume the educational process in a new place. Such universities include our university, Volodymyr Dal, East Ukrainian National University. Moreover, this is second displacement for us. In 2014, 17 universities were evacuated from Lugansk, Donetsk region and Crimea. This slide shows information only for universities subordinated to Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine. Displaced universities have become a phenomenon of higher education in Ukraine and an example of resilience and the desire to develop in very difficult conditions. However, the present war increased the number of displaced universities in Ukraine, and these statistics change every day. Each displaced university has its own story, but I would like to tell about our experience. Until 2014, our university was placed in Lugansk and was one of the leading universities in Ukraine. The university has a strong technical and scientific base, We had more than 2,000 teachers who taught more than 30,000 students. However, the very ambitious development plans of the university were hampered by the war in 2014. As a result, the premises of the base university and almost all branches were seized by the occupiers. For the first time, the evacuation took place to our separate unit in city Severodonetsk, where more than half of the teachers came. In 2014, we all realized that the university is not about buildings, walls, and equipment, but it is about people, teachers, and students. Displaced work, dedicated work of employees at that time allowed to completely restore education and scientific activities. In the last 8 years, the university has implemented more than 50 international and other projects, created 16 new laboratories and modern educational spaces. We attracted near 2 million euros for this purpose. We planned even more for the coming years. However, the war again disrupted all the plans and the aspirations of the community of our university. Sorry. Today, two buildings of our university. I'm sorry. Today, two buildings of our university almost all destroyed, and we must evacuate our staff and our students. Severodonetsk is shelling. The constant is under the Severodonetsk is under constant shelling from first day of the war. On the second day of the war, our community set up an online coordination group, and during the first 2 weeks, almost 80% of our teachers and a lot of our students were evacuated. With the support of international organizations and volunteers, evacuated buses we organized the evacuated buses which took our students, our teachers and their families and other citizens to safe places. More than 8,000 people have been evacuated, and new stage of university activities began at new locations. The first issues facing the university today are the solution of humanitarian problems. The dormitory premises provided to us by our colleagues have not been used to several years and required basic things for living. Almost all people left with a minimum of things due to the limited place, urgency and danger of departure. The same situation is at other displaced universities. Volunteers and international organizations help us, support us, but unfortunately we lack funds for full restoration of our activities. Professor Ksenia spoke about needs of the university of our country, but I would like to focus on the displaced university. The most critical needs of all displaced universities in Ukraine are computer, office and laboratory equipment, free software and others on this slide. Needs for future development of the university include creation of partnership network to support displaced university, creation of special purpose funds for recovery with partners from European University, and others about which spoke my colleagues. In conclusion, on behalf of all my colleagues, I would like to thank all countries and all people for their support to Ukraine. We are confident in Ukrainian victories. Our community is moving together with Europe towards common values. Glory to Ukraine.
Thank you very much. The only comment I can make is that the resilience that you are describing here is phenomenal. And everybody here, I think, would express awe at what you have actually succeeded in achieving under the most extraordinary circumstances. And it is useful also to review what is happening in universities to your west to support you. So we'll spend a few minutes hearing the experiences from Poland and from Hungary. And we're starting off with Jerzy Lis, who is the rector of AGH, University of Science and Technology in Poland. And then we will have Laszlo Borhi, who is the president of the Hungarian Rectors' Conference. And then we will open the floor to discussion of some additional steps we might take. Jerzy.
Yeah, sure. I see. Yeah, this one. Yeah, I'm changing. Thank you, Mike. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not easy to have a talk after these two presentations. Ladies, dear rectors, please find also from everybody in this room and also from all the Polish colleagues, Polish university, Polish friends, the words of support, friendship, and the common living in this situation. This is a situation when we met first time in our activity, but what was important? We are together, and especially in Poland. As you know, Poland is practically a twin country. We have a lot of joint points in the history, joint activity in our days, and the situation in Ukraine, but for the academic community, situation in Ukrainian university is number one in our hearts, in our activity. So, excuse me, I want to show only the few slides and few facts, because the discussion should be so deep, so long, that, like my suggestion, it's practically is number one in this meeting, this annual conference. So, my name is Jerzy Lis. I'm the head of the International Cooperation Commission in our KRAS. KRAS is the Conference of Rectors of Academic Polish Universities, and I'm the rector of the EUA University in Krakow. The fact is also like this. About 5 million Ukrainian citizens are now temporarily outside of the Ukrainian territory border. Among them, the number is not known, but according to the official data, more than 3 million citizens are in Poland just now, in this moment. There are mostly in the big cities. In my Krakow, we have 800,000 people, but we have 200 people now from refugees. So because of this, the citizen of Krakow reached 1 million people. It's a fact. It's a fact also for our activities. So I must say that very fresh, just after a few days, after the shock, we as the Conference of Directors of the Polish University, we create a group, the commission, I'm head of the commission, to coordinate, make the coordination of the academician helps for our friends from the Ukraine. It was the government initiative. Maybe from the other people, from refugees, from the kids from the schools, it was coordinated by the government, by the ministry. But the contact and relative coordinations or activity between the university in our hands. So we ask the representative of the ministers. We have the minister representative in our group. We have also the representative of Polish Academy of Sciences and others, like the research institutes and others. So we are about 40 people. We have arranged the network, the contact. Every week, 2 times, we have the meeting, and we are working online. I will have the contact with everybody. 3 levels of the helps or activity. First is like that, people, refugees. About 10,000 people are accommodated in the university dormitories just now. The university opened the doors. The majority of them are mothers with kids, very small kids. We arrange the nurses, kindergartens. We arrange the food for them. They are still. This is our family. It's our people. It's our mothers. It's our kids. We arrange humanitarian assistance from those people and from our friends with the university. I have the call with the Yuri Bubalo, rector of the Technical University in Lvov, many people, and they ask me what they need: foods, medicine, dressing, everything. It's working. I think it's working not only in Poland, in many of countries. Second level is our students, Ukrainian students, including the exchange students, like the students in the Erasmus program, in the double diploma program. Now we have about 50,000, or we had before the war, 50,000 Ukrainian students, mostly of them according to our agreement. They also need the helps. The boys back, majority of boys back to Ukraine. We arrange them to transport. They go to army. They ask us to help their families in Ukraine. And we also arrange such support individual. We help the students because they break the contact with families. Many support and so we, every of university, every of rectors, arrange the discounts, or they cancel the fee or cancel the cost of the materials and so on and so on. And especially they have helps from our students organization. They're working together, I know it. We also arrange the coming to Poland, the families, like the wives, or maybe because they have families also. It's working. And the third, Ksenia Smirnova, rector, told about it, is all the problem how to help Ukrainian university to work active during this time. I don't know the number, maybe I know the number, maybe I'll show you. The number of students now temporarily present in Poland, in different situations. Sometimes it's very individual, personal, very hard situation. We have the students from the East Ukraine and West Ukraine. From West Ukraine, practically all of the students represent the active Ukrainian university. But we have some other people that are looking for their place, and we are working together. So formally, Polish Parliament gives special acts for the help of Ukrainian people, of Ukrainian citizens in Poland. You know, to make it easy to find a job, some money support and all. It's working and it is changing, and we use this for the helping. Now I have the number of students, or of Ukrainian students present in Poland. It's about, they give the information because I don't know the number, but you know, it's about 6,000, maybe it should be more, but 6,000 ask us, they are interesting, they inform in what university they are, and we try to arrange different form of contact helping. They send me 600, I think about 1,000 of the researchers on different level. We want, as a CRASP and Polish University, to contact with the representative with Ukrainian University, like Sonia talked about. Sonia Smirdova, excuse me, Mrs. Rector. We opened the general electronic information system where the Polish University inform what kind of the contact and what kind of the relation with the university and what they can offer for our friends, for the students, for the doctoral students, PhD students, and for the lecturer or the professor or research worker. Poland also opened some programs. This is NAVA program and Polish National Research Council program for the short research stay for visitors, for visiting professors. That if somebody interesting is present of the government or ministry website. We opened the door to rebuild our relation, like the double diploma, like the Erasmus, like the joint program, like the other form of activity. It's working, and it's very helpful for us, our contact. Many times we are working together. Rector Leonid Kuberski is the head of the conference of the rectors of Ukraine. Is contact with Professor Woźnicki. Now we have online meeting between the rector and trying to help now and build together future. So we should make every effort to help like the partner. Thank you very much.
Dear colleagues, rectors, vice rectors, dear Michael, уважаемая Olga, уважаемая Ksenia, I can clearly remember the moment at 8 in the evening, just a few days after the explosion of the war, when a state secretary from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Orsolya Pacsai Tomasic, called me and requested the Hungarian Rectors Conference to help in the placement of nearly 2,000 Indian students fleeing from Ukraine and staying in military bases at the border at the time. Together with Mr. Secretary General Zoltán Dubéci, we managed to reach almost all rectors in Budapest and organized the placement and allocation of the Indian students in the institution's dormitories by midnight. All of them were in bed. This very first action showed us that the Ukrainian situation requires prompt help, and also that our member institutions are very helpful and are ready to help in various forms. The Hungarian Rectors Conference, as the representative organization of Hungarian higher education institutions, aims to provide as much assistance and up-to-date information during these critical times as possible. Since the war in Ukraine has a direct effect on Hungary and on Hungarian higher education, we believe it is necessary to stand united and find ways to provide aid in this situation. The same sentiment is shared among all our member universities and colleagues as well, and the Secretariat of the Hungarian Rectors Conference itself helped personally a few refugees to reach their secure destination. On this slide, you can see the supporting activities of both the Hungarian Rectors Conference Secretariat and the higher education institutions, such as organizing accommodation in higher education institutions' dormitories for student refugees and their family members, organizing donations, among others, for the Ferenc Rákóczi II Transcarpathian Hungarian College of Higher Education in Beregovo, Beregszesz, communicating statement on the Ukrainian situation, continuous support related to the involvement of refugee students in the Hungarian higher education degree programs, active contribution in higher education institutions, and National Directorate General for Alliance Policing Communication. Supporting the refugee students' related measurements of the Ministry for Innovation and Technology and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. The sectoral governance is also very active in handling the effects of the Ukrainian situation, and the Hungarian Rectors Conference works in close cooperation with the Ministry of Innovation and Technology. We communicate with the Deputy State Secretary for Higher Education on a daily basis. In the beginning of this crisis, there had to be a prompt and intensive help of Hungarian people to provide essential aid and placement for all the refugee students and their family members. The higher education institutions rapidly ensured free dormitories, and the Hungarian Rectors Conference collects updated information on the institution's free capacities at the request of the Ministry for Innovation and Technology. Since the first big wave of refugees, a framework must have been built up to cope with the nearly 10,000 refugees arriving in Hungary each day and support the refugees' life. In the case of the higher educational institutions, this framework is provided by the Hungarian Rectors Conference in cooperation with the responsible ministry by means of regular communications on free dormitories capacities, available places in degree programs, organizing and transporting donations, and other current issues. As mentioned earlier, Hungarian Rectors Conference communicates with the ministry on a daily basis. The Hungarian Rectors Conference is currently collecting information on laptop and PC offers. So far, we have received offers to provide the Ferenc Rákóczi II Transcarpathian Hungarian College of Higher Education almost 100 PCs. Donated laptops and PCs will be delivered to the border town Beregszurany and provided to be delivered to the college from there. types of assistance. First, in the case of about 2,000 Indian students, Hungary Rectors Conference helped the organization, the students stay in Hungary in dormitories and arrange their administrative responsibilities until the Indian government arranged their travel home. Thousands of Moroccan students, exactly 4,905 students, fled home from Ukraine, quit their studies in Ukraine definitively, and tried to find degree programs elsewhere to go on with their studies. Hungarian Rectors Conference, together with the Ministry, collected information on free capacities in the field of medical programs. In case of pharmacists, medical and dentist programs, Semmelweis University, University of Szeged and University of Debrecen offered altogether 1,093 places for Moroccan students. The sectoral governance also made a special measurement related to the Stipendium Hungaricum scholarship program in order to ease the integration of Ukrainian students to Hungarian higher education. Within the framework of the Stipendium Hungaricum scholarship program, Tempus Public Foundation announced the Students at Risk sub-program for higher education students forced to flee from Ukraine. The aim of the Students at Risk sub-program is to provide higher education scholarship opportunities for Ukrainian students who wish to pursue their studies in Hungary, studied in Ukraine, so that they obtain a bachelor's, master's, or doctorate degree. The extension of the Stipendium Hungaricum program is already very popular. The 1,000 places provided altogether for Ukrainian refugee students and other international students fleeing from Ukraine will surely be occupied. Second, and three, assistance in the process and communication. There is a great variety in terms of what our members can offer on their own institutional grants, but for example, the establishment of a special committee to coordinate the institution's efforts is a common feature in most institutions. In order to provide help, most institutions establish information points and organize the allocation of contacting staff at every faculty to help the refugee students. Those universities and colleges that have available dormitories are offering their vacancies for short and long-term stay for the refugees, provide accommodation and meals, and also day care and other engagement for those who arrive with children. There is also cooperation with regional stakeholders through which they provide accommodation to Ukrainian workers and their families. Communication with regional stakeholders also means that a number of our members are in direct contact with universities across the border and provide direct assistance when necessary. In some cases, this means medical or technical equipment or allocation of staff. Institutions also try to provide support by offering tuition fee waivers and emergency support for already enrolled students in Hungarian higher education. Similarly, positions are offered for university staff, researchers, and teachers as well. Due to the unordinary nature of the current situation, Hungarian Rectors Conference member institutions also try to provide crisis support and psychological assistance for those who require. The crisis also inspires people to come up with unique or innovative way to help. For example, some institutions organize charity concerts, while others are offering free online courses and trainings to help refugees in finding a job. This slide gives us an impression about the donation activity of Hungarian Rectors Conference Secretariat made. Here you can see some of my colleagues of the Hungarian Rectors Conference. They are present here, thank you for them, who delivered donation to Ukrainian refugees, transferred them to Tarpa, and handed them over to Mr. Szabolcs Szécsi, the mayor of Tarpa. The donation included food, baby care products, and baby food, toiletries, blankets, and so on. On the way home, my colleagues brought 3 refugees from Beregsurány to Budapest, a medical student lady with her family members in the car. Colleagues of the Secretariat then arranged their onward trip to Greece, bought the flight tickets, and with the help of my university, Dr. Során University, they managed to provide them accommodation. I must add, there are many of such spontaneously carried out help activities of Hungarian people. We stand by Ukraine. Besides the Hungarian Red Cross Conference Secretariat donation activity, institutions did their best in this regards too. Many institutions collected donations at the university and delivered either to charity organizations or to the institution's student union, who forwards them to various partners. Furthermore, in other cases, they deliver the collected goods directly to an Ukrainian partner, municipalities, or humanitarian organizations. Some parts of the funds raised are also funneled to the Bridge for Transcarpathia Higher Education Infoline, which has established by Tempus Public Foundation that can help teachers and students who want to continue their full or part-time study in Hungary or participate in a Hungarian teachers mobility program. Furthermore, in some cases, institutions decided to offer financial support in the form of donation to charity foundations from the institution's own budget. As a special donation by one of our members, University of Óbuda, in collaboration with the Hungarian Baptist Aid, a container was delivered to the border. This container operates 7 days, 24 hours a week, providing essential aid to the refugees. Human resources. Institutions also aim to help in the management of the crisis by the recruitment of volunteers to provide help at the university and also to help at the border with the constant influx of people fleeing from the war-torn lands Ukraine, as well as volunteers who speak Russian or Ukrainian to provide translation. As a compensation, some universities offer a small scholarship fee for their students who volunteered to translate in 8-hour shifts a day at the border. For some time, the government has been paying a fee for volunteer students who are assigned to interpret on trains and at the train stations. The ministry organized interpretation on trains carrying refugees from the border to Budapest, and Hungarian Red Cross Conference helps in the recruitment of Ukrainian or Russian-speaking volunteers who also provide useful information for the refugees besides translation. Volunteer students do interpreting duties on government, general and health information lines, thereby also assisting the ambulance service in interpreting. Scholarships and enrollment. Regarding the scholarship opportunities that are available for the students and staff at the moment, some higher education institutions offer the opportunity to enroll in partial studies or to transfer their studies to Hungarian university completely. It is also possible to join the Hungarian higher education system with Erasmus scholarship positions and the already mentioned Stipendium Hungaricum scholarship program that has been extended to Ukrainian students lately. But the general consensus currently is to accept all students with a special student position for the rest of this spring semester. To help in surviving this, we hope, transitioning period, institutions began to rearrangement of their available scholarship resources from remaining Erasmus Plus credit mobility programs where there are vacancies. In case students want to continue their studies at a Hungarian institution after this semester, the university will conduct a proper entrance exam if the desired course is available and capacities allow. On this slide you can see refugee lady Tatiana and her family with the Hungarian Red Cross Conference Secretariat's colleagues after dinner provided by Hungarian Red Cross Conference. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Georgie and Laszlo. We had planned an open discussion at this point, but I guess you have seen the scale and the complexity of the challenges, and that is the most important requirement of this occasion. And you've also seen, above all, the resilience that has been shown by our colleagues in Ukraine and the efforts made by our colleagues in Poland, in Hungary, which represent efforts in many other bordering countries and beyond. Rather than a discussion, because we are in time trouble, but this is most important, I'll just make 2 or 3 comments. The first one is that I am sure that you will all appreciate a one-stop shop that might give you the details on how you, across Europe, can help. And I draw your attention to the EUA homepage, where you will find a document from Tuesday which synthesizes the efforts being made across Europe and in Ukraine itself. Lots of links that may help you in your institutions identify ways in which you can help. I think that is one of the most valuable contributions that we can make in EUA. I should also say that at Board and Council yesterday, we took some decisions on ways in which we as an organisation can provide support. Fee waivers, specialised enhanced consideration of applications for membership, because you are expressing an ambition to be part, and a bigger part of the community. We endorsed the creation of a fund, voluntary donations from across the sector to actually support you in the Ukrainian institutions. There were lots of decisions taken as an expression of our support. But I want to make one last point which has not come up, but which is important. We are here for a values discussion at our conference. One fundamental value that we must respect at this time is that we are not, in other countries in Europe, to exploit this situation to attract talent out of Ukraine for the benefit of our countries and institutions. It should be a value that in whatever we do, we take steps to enable Ukrainian academics, researchers and students to go home ultimately. And that should be a guiding value of all of our actions. And I've lost my train of thought when one goes off script. Last point. There will be a time after the war. We hope soon. We hope immediately. But we also realize it may take time. The Ukrainian higher education system will need to be rebuilt. And at Council and Board yesterday, we agreed the setting up right away of an expert group to capture the thoughts of the academic community of Europe on how we may help that reconstruction. Unfortunately, we have experience from the Balkans in the 1990s. That experience and new experiences will be brought to bear, and that is work that needs to begin now, because the future begins now. So I apologize for the fact that we're not having an open discussion, but I want to acknowledge deeply the contributions made by our colleagues from Ukraine and our colleagues in Central Europe as exemplars of resilience. And I invite you to thank them for the efforts that they have made and for joining us. And we look forward to the new Ukrainian higher education and research system very soon. I thank you all.